Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Sacred Beast Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for post the October 2024 ban list. We did have some changes with the support that is used in the Sacred Beast lineup for the Yubel deck, with one of our very important spells for the deck being limited to one. So with it, an update for the Phantom Beast deck was needed, and it's also been a good couple years since I last updated the Phantom Beast deck. These are the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX variants for the Egyptian God cards. We have Uriah, Haman, and Ravael, respectively, with all of them being able to combine together to create Armentile, the Chaos Phantasm, with its alternate fusion form as well. And we also received some support back in Phantom Nightmare for the Sacred Beast deck as well. So an update is definitely, I would say, two reasons behind for this deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the actual Sacred Beast monsters themselves. There are three, but we also do have Ravael, Lord of Phantasms, Shimmering Scraper, for an added option to be able to summon out as one of the big hitters for the deck, being able to gain 4,000 attack, and then the other three as well, needing to tribute Fiend monsters for Ravael, face-up spells for Haman, and face-up traps for Uriah, each having their own respected attack gain with Uriah, the burn damage with Haman, and protection option, and then the token creation with Ravael. You really only need the one of copies for all three of these Sacred Beast monsters, depending on which one you want to summon out for the scenario. And as I said, we also have Shimmering Scraper for the 4th addition to the deck. But one-ofs are really all you need. For the new card from Phantom Nightmare we have, the card was Phantasmal Summoning Beast. You contribute this card to add one Uriah, Haman, Ravael, or, Ravael from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Then you can special summon one level 10 Pyro, Thunder, or Fiend type monster from your hand, whose attack equals its own defense, ignoring its summoning conditions, but cannot attack directly this turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add one Dimension Fusion Destruction from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Phantasmal Summoning Beast once per turn. This is the big boss monster that can just set up your Sacred Beast monster of choice onto the field, while in turn also being able to search out our fusion spell, which is Dimension Fusion Destruction, to use depending on the fusion monster we want to get out for our Armentile monster also. So it's a definite 3 of, just being very helpful for that setup power onto the field. And also 3 copies of Dark Summoning Beast. When it's normal summon, you can add one Uriah, Haman, or Ravael, or one card that specifically lists any of those cards in its text from your deck to your hand, except for Dark Beckoning Beast. You can only use this effect once per turn, and during your main phase, you can normal summon one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense in addition to your normal summoner set. So just helping to extend your plays, but also search out some of your needed cards for the deck. Once again, why these are one-ofs, because we've already listed off 2 cards that can easily search out the bigger Sacred Beast monsters from our deck to our hand. We also run 2 copies of Dark Summoning Beast with this card. You can tribute this card to special summon Uriah, Haman, or Ravael from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Dark Summoning Beast once per turn, and you can banish this card from your graveyard to add one Uriah, Haman, or Ravael from your deck to your hand. More and more search power with all of these different monsters. Once again, just added search with our last monster being in addition to this setup, which is our Chaos Summoning Beast, being able to tribute this card to special summon Uriah, Haman, or Ravael from our hand, ignoring the summoning conditions, and being able to banish this card from our graveyard to add one Fallen Paradise from our deck to our hand. The Fallen Paradise card also definitely does help with the setup of these monsters in the deck. So along with the copies of Chaos Summoning Beast, we also run 2 copies of Fallen Paradise. Your opponent cannot target Uriah, Haman, or Ravael, or Armentile in the monster zone with card effects, and these monsters cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and while you control them, Uriah, Haman, and Ravael, or Armentile in the monster zone, you can draw 2 cards. So just having a draw 2 option with a field spell gives us more consistency to add cards from our deck to our hand to be able to use to extend any of our Sacred Beast plays. We also, like I said, At 1 is Opening of the Spirit Gates. It's a really, really good card, but still just a card at 1 because it was used in the Yubel deck. When it's activated, add 1 Uriah, Haman, or Ravael, or one monster that lists those cards from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card to special summon 1 Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your graveyard. And once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, you can add 1 continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand. Add back power, but also one of the quicker ways to summon out our Phantasmal Summoning Beast onto the field, since it is a higher level monster, to then be be able to use for its tribute and add and special summon play, or any of our other Fiend monsters as well. For other one-ofs, we run the 1 copy of Cerulean Skyfire and the 1 copy of Dimension Fusion Destruction. Dimension Fusion Destruction, you banish from your hand, field, or graveyard fusion materials that are listed on a Phantasm Fusion monster. Special summon that monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, and you take no battle damage from attacks involving monsters special summoned by this effect. And if you control Uriah, Haman, or Ravael, your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So meant to get out one of your needed fusion monsters by ignoring their summoning conditions as well, by just being able to use the spell, which can once again also just be searched thanks to our Phantasmal Summoning Beast. And also, we are running the 3 copies of Perry Ray's map. Added search power, just being able to grab any monster with 0 attack from our deck to our hand, but half your life points after adding it. So we have a good majority of monsters with 0 attack, so being able to just use this card to grab any of those cards, and we don't really use life points for anything else in the deck, so it's really not that big of a problem if you take a little bit of life point damage after adding the needed monster. Also, with the other cards in the deck being 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. If you have any multiples for any of your Fiend monsters, being able to banish them for draws comes in handy with the Allure of Darkness play. And other one-ofs include the 1 copy of Monster Reborn, the 1 copy of 1 for 1, the 1 Pot of Prosperity, and the 1 Foolish Barrel, with the Foolish Barrel meaning to set up our Chaos Summoning Beast in the graveyard to then banish to add our Fallen Paradise from our deck to our hand. For the traps, we run 3 copies of Awakening of the Sacred Beasts. This card gains effects based on the number of Uriah, Haman, and Ravael, with different names you control. If it's 1, each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster, gain life points equal to the attack of that monster. So, another way to make back some of the life points you used with Perry Ray's map. 2 or more, negate the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls. Or 3 or more, any monsters sent to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. So you have a skill drain, a life point gain option, and also a Macrocosmos built into one, just needing your Sacred Beast monsters on the field to be able to do so. And once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, you can add 1 continuous trap from your graveyard to your hand. So the continuous traps are used to summon out our Uriah. So we do run a couple, with 1 being Hyperblaze, being able to use our set traps, the 1 Rivalry of the Warlords. Since we can only control 1 type, the main play with this will come down to just what, Sacred Beast monster we may have set up on the field as well, but it can also just be a set trap to use as the tribute for Uriah, with the other copies of our traps being 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. It's really the only trap I run in the deck as added hand trap power, but another continuous trap being the 3 copies of Crackdown. Not only be able to take our opponent's resources, but then have a potential other face-up trap to use to summon out Uriah also. For the extra deck, we run the 1 copy of Phantom of Fury Armityle, the 1 original Armityle, the Chaos Phantasm, and the 1 copy of Phantasm Emperor Trigel, which this card is a Phantasm monster, so you can use the fusion to be able to summon out the 10,000 attack point monster for our main Armityle monster. And then with Phantom of Fury becoming Chaos Phantasm on the field, and during the main phase, you can give control of this card to your opponent, and during the end phase, if control is changed this turn, banish all cards you control, giving it so you can get rid of all your opponent's resources. And then the owner of this card special summons 1 Armityle, being able to get out Armityle while also being able to take out our opponent's resources thanks to the Phantom of Fury. For more of the generic extra deck lineup, we also have the 1 Salmon Great Almirage, the 1 Relinquished Anima, the 1 Underclock Taker, the 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and the 1 Barricade Board Blocker for some of our lower link monsters. Also the 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 IP Masquerena, the 1 Donner Dagger for Hire, and the 1 Nightmare Unicorn, with our Exceed monsters being the 1 number 81, the 1 Gustav Max, and the 1 Zeus to potentially overlay on top of them as well. We don't get them out often, but I like to have them in here as options, and if you don't go into them, they can always just be cards you banish for a Pot of Prosperity. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, Dark Summoning Beast is a big part of the deck because we can use this card to initially add our 1 of Opening of the Spirit Gates, because it says 1 card that specifically lists those cards except for it, so then we can activate our 1 of using our Dark Beckoning Beast, having the additional normal summon if we have another Phantom monster in our hand. We could summon out that monster as well, and then go for a Link 2 play to ideally set up those monsters in the graveyard for us to use, because then we can use the Chaos Summoning Beast to add our Fallen Paradise from our deck to our hand, which then if we control the Uriah and all them, we have a draw 2 option. Then we can also have the setup for the other monster with 0 attack and defense in our graveyard. So if we have our Phantasmal Summoning Beast in our hand, we can discard it and then use the opening of the Spear Gates. We just have to have the one other target in the graveyard, so remember that, to summon it back onto the field, having that tribute to then be able to give us our Sacred Beast monster of choice onto the field as well, and then having the option for our banish from the graveyard for our Phantasmal Chaos Beast to be able to give us our search for our fusion spell. And then we can use Fall into Paradise to draw into 2 potential cards as well, just building up more and more resources to then set up our go-to armor tile on the field as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, wanted to update this with the ban list we've had and then the added support back during Phantom Nightmare. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.